Let's get started. And yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome to, what is this? Third? Yeah, that's right. Third week of the Gamay box. We're tasting this number today, that really cool, almost like, scene out of Alice in Wonderland, I think. Kind of a label on it. It's 2022 Grosbot-Barbara Le Ferneaux Saint-Pourcain Rouge is what we're tasting today. Yeah, so we did, the first week was granite, right? Gamay grown on granite. Second week, no. First week was Gamay grown on volcanic soil. Second week was Gamay grown on granite. And then this week, we're tasting Gamay grown on clay limestone. However, it's not, I came across something today and it hasn't been verified. So this is a direct import by Wine Tradition, which is an importer here in Falls Church, Virginia. And they're the sole importer for the entire country. So anytime you see this wine in US, they're the one who imported it in and then distributes from there. So I spoke with Ed, who's the owner of Wine Tradition, as well as my rep, Danny, who also visited this property with Ed. Both of their notes say that this was grown on clay limestone. However, today, while I was browsing their website, the Grosbot-Barbara website, it looks like they say on the website this was grown on granite. So it's to be confirmed what it exactly means. They were under the impression this was grown on limestone. Everybody's under the impression that it was grown on limestone, but I don't know if it's an error on the website or it's an error on what Dennis Grosbot said to Danny and Ed. Not sure, but we're gonna go with that this was grown on limestone for today.
It could be both.
It could be both. It could have a little bit of both.
My backyard has like 3 feet of clay before I hit rock. So
yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, it could be that it has both granite and limestone. You're absolutely right. But yeah, so to be confirmed. But yeah, just something that I came across today. So I just full disclosure. Just don't want to give you guys a false information today. Anyways, before we get into the wine, here's some announcements. So I need to wrap up enrollment for next month. All the invoices have gone up. So if you are planning on joining, go ahead and take care of that invoice. If not, just let me know so I can get that all prepped. Otherwise I'm gonna have to hunt you down and hound you this weekend just so I can wrap that all up, get that all up, because I need to wrap it up and then ship the wines out by next Monday. But in case I haven't told you, next month's theme is going to be Rioja. So we're going to Spain. We're gonna drink some Tempranillo and Viura. I still have like 1 or 2 more tastings left tomorrow, so it's still not quite sure how this is gonna get sliced. But anyways, it's gonna be Rioja. I just haven't figured out exactly how I'm gonna slice this Rioja cake. But yeah, just know that next month's theme is going to be Rioja, Spain. So I don't really have any other announcements. For those of you who order Matassa allocation, that arrived. So that will I reach out to each one of you who placed an order or sent me an email with your order. But otherwise, if you didn't get an email from me, that means I couldn't get you what you ordered. So sorry. All right. Last but not least, we are donating to Miriam's Kitchen this month. If you want to check out what they do, it's a local organization here in DC. So if you want to check out what they do, the link is right there in the chat box. Any questions about next month or the wine or whatever before we get into the wine? Cool. In case you're just joining us now, we're tasting this guy. One with a cool little label on in the front. 2022 Grosbot-Barbara Le Ferneaux Saint-Pourcain Rouge. Rouge is what we're tasting today. I was just saying this at the very beginning of the call, in case you were just joining and missed that. It's not clear whether 100% clear whether this was actually grown on limestone. So the whole point was, this is supposed to be Gamay grown on limestone. That was an impression that I had. That was the impression my importer and my rep all had, because they actually visited this property. This is what they were told. It's in their notes. They actually looked up their notes when they visited Grosbot-Barbara 2 years ago. But that all says it was grown on limestone. However, today, while I was browsing their website, it said this wine was grown on granite. So it's not sure which one. And as Joe mentioned, is most likely there's probably a mixture of both in there. There's some probably Gamay grown on limestone, some grown on Gamay. So that's to be confirmed. But yeah, just wanted to give you full disclosure that this may not be full 100% grown on clay limestone as I thought it was. So as we're investigating that, I'll keep you updated if I come across any new information. But for all intents and purposes for today, let's go with the limestone, because that's what I've been told. All right, let's start with the map. All right, here we go. Should look pretty familiar, right? French map. And we are in Loire Valley, which is this whole green chunk right here. One of the biggest, most expansive wine region. Expands all the way from Atlantic Ocean all the way to the center of France. Okay. If you look a little more closely, this is what Loire looks like, right? It's kind of divided into these different sections, 4 different sections. Pine and Thai. This is where Muscadet comes from. This is where we were last week, right? And then Anjou, Sommer, just a little further in, Touraine, and then going into the center part. But where we are is even further, all the way here at the very eastern end of it. You see this area called Saint-Pourcain. This is where we are. So as you saw in the map earlier, it is very close to, right? This is Saint-Pourcain, the right on the Royan, right? Is right next to Beaujolais. So there's no doubt, or it's no surprise that there's a lot of that granite kind of carries through limestone from Burgundy, the central massif, the plain that comes through here, that geological shape also comes through. And then also the southern tip of Beaujolais, as we know, for those of you who are in Beaujolais, is a lot of it is clay and sand, right? So some of that shows up here. So right here, you're going to find in Saint-Pourcain, you're going to find basically those 3 soil types. You're going to find sand, you're going to find limestone, and you're going to find granite. As you can see, it's kind of like smack dab in the center of France, right? Right in the middle of it. So being very inland, the climate here is very, very continental. Meaning it gets really warm, really hot in the summertime, but it also gets really, really cold in the wintertime. Very marginal climate, kind of like Burgundy and Beaujolais. I mean, this is a very continental climate. And also, if you look at a little bit closely, this area, Sancerre, this is where Sancerre is in Loire Valley. Again, being in very inland, it is very cold in the wintertime, and it's very hot in the summertime. It's a very small appellation that got its own status, appellation AOC status in 2009, so not super old, but it has historical significance here. There used to be a lot of wine, not only just quantity, but also quality-wise. It was well sought after. The history of this region dates back to before the Romans. So when the Phoenicians actually settled here, they actually planted vines. So it goes back quite a bit. They actually, from what I read, they actually claim to have civilized the barbarians with wine in this region, says the Phoenicians. During the 13th and 14th century, the wines of Saint-Pourcain were highly esteemed. There's a record of it traveling up to Paris, where it was served to the popes, the royalty, the aristocracy. So it's highly sought after wine. So back in the days, there used to be quite a bit of popularity and significance here. By the end of the 18th century, the vineyards cover more than 8,000 hectares. But today, the vines only cover about 600 hectares. So it clearly has fallen way, way out of fashion. But once it was very significant. And today, if you ever name, of course, you being the 6 Foot Wine Club savvy wine club members and wine consumers that you are, you probably know what Saint-Pourcain is because we've had Mary Taylor Saint-Pourcain, and you guys all love that wine. It was a delicious wine, right? But if anybody knows where even Saint-Pourcain is, really these days Saint-Pourcain is more known for the forest that's there than the wine. It's a forest of oak trees, and a lot of French oak barrels are made using the trees, those oak trees that come from that forest. So these days, even though back in 13th, 14th century, it was a wine that was served to the royalties and aristocracy and the popes, but now it is more known for the cooperage and their barrels and oak forest than it is known for their wine. However, as you can see, being right next to Beaujolais and at the end of Loire, oftentimes these are the kind of places that have like rich history of winemaking, but also next to a very popular region that carries out the similar kind of soil type. These are where you're going to find a lot of value, right? A lot of great winemaking, great quality, but at much fraction of cost of what you would find in, say, Burgundy or Beaujolais. So here, as you can imagine, the great varieties that are run the game here is what we're talking about is Gamay, obviously, is what we're tasting today. Pinot Noir, obviously, comes right next to Burgundy. And then Chardonnay, also, again, right next to Burgundy and Beaujolais. So yeah, the Gamay, basically what you find in all of Burgundy and Beaujolais is basically still here in Saint-Pourcain. So anytime you get a wine of Saint-Pourcain, just expect that it's going to be the Gamay, Pinot Noir, oftentimes a blend of those two. And then Chardonnay if it's white. It's basically what you're. Who makes this wine? Let's go back to that picture. Is this gentleman? I don't even know what he looks like. I don't know. There's something about his vibe that says like I don't know, evil villain in a James Bond movie. Something about him is just doesn't quite say like a farmer vigneron, but he is a solo farmer. He does all of his vineyard work by himself. Obviously, except for the harvest time, then he has a harvest interns that come in and helps him harvest. But during the season, he actually farms all the vines himself, which is pretty wild because he owns 8 hectares overall, kind of spread all throughout different parts of Saint-Pourcain. So for him to travel and do all of that work by himself, he's kind of a bit of a madman. And from the accounts of what I've heard from Ed and Danny, which are importers of wine tradition, he's also quite the partier. Every time they visited him, they stayed up all night partying, and he just will not let you go to sleep. So if you guys ever get a chance to visit him, maybe a fun guy to visit. Anyways, his name is Grosbot-Barbara. He's a grandson of a winemaker in Saint-Pourcain, but reasons that's unknown. I was reading this interview by him, but I'm not sure why he couldn't take over his family estate. But he did say, in the interview, he just says for certain circumstances, I couldn't take over the family estate. I don't know. Maybe he had a falling out with his dad. I don't know. I'm not sure. But he did study winemaking, so he did go to Burgundy to study enology, then had further training in Beaujolais, followed by another year of working in Mâcon, which is in the southern tip of Burgundy. But so yeah, after all of that, he wasn't sure where his next job was going to be, where it was going to be, all of that. But just by luck, he actually one evening got a call from an acquaintance named Ellie Grosbot, a winemaker who had a family domain that has been passed on in his family since 1910 in Saint-Pourcain, and they've kind of known each other from growing up, from being from that region. But he was going to retire. Mr. Grosbot was going to retire soon, but he didn't want to sell his family property, and he didn't have any kids who was going to take over. He also didn't want to sell his vines because it's just been in his family for a while. So they actually partnered in 1996, and hence the name Grosbot-Barbara was born, domain Grosbot-Barbara. And their whole mission from the very beginning has been just kind of express or make wines that express where they come from. This is the French notion of terroir. Not only for the actual region of Saint-Pourcain as a whole, but really, I mentioned that he has a bunch of different parcels of vineyards spread out all across Saint-Pourcain. So really vinifying each parcel separately and showcasing different terroir of each parcel was kind of the aim of the project. He farmed several parcels, land totaling 8 hectares, with 2/3 of it being red wine variety, so Gamay, Pinot Noir. He works alone except for the harvest and does much of the vineyard work by hand and by himself. He intentionally keeps his yield very low by bud pruning in the spring, meaning he's going out. So in the spring, if you ever watch vines or if you ever visited vineyards in the spring, right after the winter breaks, there are these buds, and then he will go out, and then this is a viticultural practice where they go in, they purposely intentionally cut off those buds. The idea is that you're trying to intentionally reduce the yield, and by doing that, you're increasing the concentration of each bud. It's like if you look at the vine as having a finite source of growing energy, by cutting down these buds, basically all those growing energy is going to be focused on some of those leftover buds, so it's going to be more abundant. It's going to be stronger buds that grow. Is that kind of the idea? He also does another thing called green harvesting in the summertime, which is when you actually go around. If you've ever seen this, it's actually a pretty common thing, especially in a quality winemaking region, where they will go around and they would actually clip off green unripe grape bunches. So after the fruit has formed, they'll go around and actually clip off some of them, just pruning the fruit off of the trees. Again, reducing the yield intentionally, just so that concentration and the flavor and all that growing energy of the vine can be concentrated into fewer grape bunches, increasing the concentration and complexity. He uses cover crops between rows, does not use any insecticides, pesticides, or chemical fertilizer whatsoever in his vineyard. So we're talking about very, very basically zero chemical-free farming here. And then all of his wines are fermented with native yeast, all the tenets of winemaking that we talk about. This is what his property looks like. So very much of a kind of a rural, pastoral, kind of a outside in the rural parts of France, in the middle of France. This is actually a picture of one of his vineyards in the wintertime, just to kind of show how cold it gets. I mean, you see those trees basically encapsulated in ice. Yeah, this is basically frozen over vineyards essentially here. So yeah, that's basically what we have here. What is this wine? This is 100% hand harvested organic Gamay grown on limestone. Again, to be confirmed. I'll investigate that. But for now, it is, let's go with this, a limestone, clay limestone, probably some granite thrown in. All destemmed, and then he lets the fruit rest in cold soak in the tank for up to 8 days. I've explained this before, we've talked about this before. It's usually done with white wines, but he applies this to his red wines as well. Usually when you cold soak, meaning before the fermentation begins, you put the fruit and the juice, the must, in a cold temperature controlled tank that is cold enough that fermentation won't begin because it's too cold for the yeast to start eating up sugar. And you just kind of let it soak. The idea when you do that is that it, at least in white wine, what you do, and I would assume it's the same thing with the red wine, is that it preserves a lot of that kind of elegant, fragile kind of aromatics. So oftentimes it's done with varieties that have these delicate aromas, and then you are trying to preserve that. So that will usually pre-soak. So he does that, destem, and then pre-soak in a chilled tank for 8 days. Then he warms up the tank, brings it up to temperature, fermenting temperature, and then fermentation begins. And then maceration and fermentation continues for about 30 days. And then it's very gently pressed, and then it's bottled, unfiltered, unfined, with just a touch of sulfite. He did have a total sulfites number, which is 25 milligrams per liter. So whenever you see this in a text sheet, every time you see, they actually list it out. So there's total sulfites and there's free sulfites. So free sulfites is sulfites that's being produced by fermentation. Anything that's fermented produces sulfites, right? Beer, cheese, charcuterie, anything. So that's free sulfite. And then you add more sulfites because you want to kill off, stabilize the wine or do whatever. In this case, he added it just at bottling. So all of the added, that's total sulfites, comes out to 25, which is nothing. That total number, as far as a legal limit goes, in EU, it's like a 75 milligrams per liter. Here in the States, it gets up to like 95. It used to be at 105. It came down to 95. So, when you're looking at grand spectrum of all the sulfite regimen that the wines get, 25 is really nothing. So, yeah, we're talking about just very, very just kind of honest, raw, straightforward wine here. I was able to find 2022 vintage report by him. So I'm just going to read off what it says here. You guys decide whether this kind of showcases what this wine tastes like. It says the year 2022 was a diametric opposite of 2021 in terms of climate. Little precipitation, but present at the right time. A cold snap in early April, which delayed the development of buds, but they were protected as there was little frost. The spring was mild. The growth of the vine was regular. Good bunches coming out, flowering going well. Fears about the hailstorms announced to affect places close to the vineyards. No water stress thanks to the rains of June and 100 millimeters in July at the moment of the closing of clusters, ideal for obtaining fine and elegant tannins, despite fine and dry and very hot weather in summer. The rainfall before the harvest was life-saving, but only on the clay limestone soils. Otherwise, the water took too long to get to the grapes, hence better yields than in 2021, but not huge either. The red wines are full, generous with aging potential on the fruit, hence bottling is near in time. Goes on to say white wines such as Vendalone, which is one of the bottling that they make, will be bottled in February and available at the end of February. The white wines are generous and aromatically fresh is what he says here. So all in all, if that all sounds like a foreign language to you, it's basically talking about how the warm weather helped with all of the ripening of the fruit. So the red wines are full, generous with the aging potential, all of that. The rain, the water stress, thanks to the rain. So the vines, we've talked about how vines, they want to dig deep. The roots, we want the roots to dig deep into the ground to find water. A little bit of that stress is really good, but too much stress is also bad. But also the biggest killer is getting the rain right before the harvest, because when that when that rain comes, it soaks up all the water, it goes to the berries, it plumps up the berries and increases the yield, but it also waters down the juice. So he's basically saying the only 100 millimeters in July, the moment of closing of clusters, which is great, just to kind of relieve them of the kind of drought and the stress of the summer. But rainfall right before harvest was great, but only on clay and limestone soil, which is what we assume this was grown on. Otherwise, the water took too long to get to the grapes, which is good, because you don't want to get to the grapes too fast and then basically pump up and dilute the wines. Is basically what this is saying. So all in all, reading that, what I'm expecting is the wines to be really full of fruit, a lot of ripeness, quite a bit of tannin and structure as well. And then just bursting with the concentration is what I'm reading from that. In case you ever get geeky enough to read a vintage report from a producer, these are the kind of things. It's usually rain, the temperature, any kind of natural disaster that happened, all those things are usually in there. So any questions about the wine or Dennis or anything before you get to tasting it? Hearing none, let's taste the wine. Who wants to take the appearance? Come on.
I do. Un.
All right, Allison, thank you.
Did I sound enthusiastic?
So enthusiastic. Really good.
I always do. I feel like I always sit in a dark area of my house, but I feel like this is clear.
So I need is clear. For all intents and purposes, I'm gonna go with clear. Yeah.
Great. I feel like I would call this medium intensity.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of see through it. I kind of see the letters in the background, like in my keyboard, but I can't really make out all letters. Yeah. I'm gonna call this medium myself.
We're gonna say it's ruby.
Yep.
Un.
Yep. Call this ruby myself. Any other
And
observations?
no other observations. Wow, that was really fast and easy.
Yeah, I mean, only other thing I would add is that no sediment and obviously no gas here, but I will say this wine looks unfiltered and on fire, is what I would say. It's not like star bright, translucent, anything.
No.
Yeah. Great. You get to pick the next person for the nose.
Liz.
Dahan.
You were muted, but I could tell what you said.
No, I said, oh, I'm so excited.
Oh, sure.
I have a little cold, so hopefully I won't mess this up too badly. And I probably need to refill my glass, but I'll make it work. Okay. Clean.
This wine is clean. This wine is sound. Intensity?
I mean, it's a medium or medium plus. I mean, if I could smell it from the top of the glass.
Yeah.
Then
it's quite expressive. I'm like getting it from here, which is, what is that, like 2 to 3 inches? So I'm gonna pose a medium plus myself. Yeah, medium plus aromas of.
Let's see. Okay, well, I could say there's some floral in this. I'd say, I don't know why, but geranium just jumped out to my eye. But definitely like a rose-ish. I could smell.
Yeah, I get some floral here as well, but again, with Gamay, I almost always get some sort of, violet, rose thing, for sure.
No green fruit, no citrus. Stone. I'm not sure I'm smelling the stone or the tropical, but certainly we're getting, when we get to the red fruit, I like, yeah. What do you
say? This is also, I meant to mention this. This is actually a Burgundian style fermentation because we've talked about semi-carbonic and all of that. There's no carbonic on this wine, just so you know. This is all just maceration. Anyways, go on.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't smell any of that anyway, so that's cool. Yeah.
Exactly. To me, the fruit here is very like actual fruit, not like those candied.
Yeah, not poppy or anything like that. Yeah, and in here, I guess you could tell I would get a red currant, a red cherry. I'm not sure. I'd say maybe you could say even like a really fresh like a raspberry jam.
Yeah, I get some red fruit here for sure.
Black fruit. That's not as much. It's mostly red fruits for me, but I'm getting a lot of them.
Yeah, I get both red and black on this thing.
Okay.
I get a bramble, but yeah, all that red currant, red cherry, I think is right on. I get a little bit of black cherry here as well. Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah.
I get a little bit of both red and black here. If I were to choose one,
no dried.
I think it's more red than it is black, but I definitely do get some
Okay,
black.
you do. Okay.
Yeah. Nature of the fruit.
I'd say it's super fresh. So like just I'm not getting any of this dried stuff.
Yeah.
None of the herbaceousness.
I think this is really ripe. This is really fresh.
Okay, and now I want to jump to like the what do you say? We think it's limestone, but it's probably mostly mud. What did you say?
Granite. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. At this point. Do you get any like savory, any of this stuff? Green, herbs, herbal?
I'm sorry, I don't think I can.
No, I don't either. The reason I bring attention to this was that this wine was destemmed, meaning the winemaker was intentionally trying to not put any savory or extract any phenolics from the vines or the stems. There's no stem inclusion on this whatsoever. It's just the pure berries. So really the purpose of this wine, or what at least his intent, is that he was trying to show the kind of purity of the fruit. So oftentimes, without any kind of stem inclusion, unless you're dealing with grape varieties that are naturally high in pyrazine or other things, you're usually not going to see much of this. And that's why I want to bring attention to that. Like, I don't get much of that here. I don't get much herbs. I don't get much like greenness or savoriness because it's not supposed to. Yeah. Any spice? Any minerality?
Well, I was trying to say, like, I'm not sure if I can smell any of the minerality. Like, it's just so heavy on the fruit for me. But
Agreed. I think on the nose, I don't get a whole lot of minerality on this thing. Particularly with the limestone, honestly, to tell the truth, I don't get like that super minerally thing. Like to me, limestone expresses itself much more on the palate. Like I feel a tension.
yeah,
But yeah, you could convince me there's a little bit like a pepper, maybe licorice or something here.
something that hits the back of the throat. Yeah, I hear. I totally agree. If we go real deep,
but
whatever that. Sorry, that was just me being sick. You guys don't.
but in general, I agree with you that I think this is very much of kind of fresh, ripe, red and black fruit driven with a touch of floral, where very much of a primary fresh fruit world. Is there any secondary or tertiary that come out at you?
No.
Me neither. This is very much a fresh primary thing. Excellent. You get to pick the next person for the palette.
I don't know. Do we have any volunteers before I go down the thing? Does anybody want to play?
Anyone? Bueller?
Norris, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Hold on just a second here. Somehow I knew you were going to say my name.
Because I miss you so much.
Oh, we miss you
Whoa,
too.
we can do it together.
Terribly.
I can't help because I have a cold too.
She has a cold too.
My taste buds are way off.
All right. What am I on now?
We're on the palette.
Palette. Okay. All right. Let's see. It's been a minute. Let's see.
It's like riding a bicycle, Norris. You got this.
Well, dry.
Yeah, this one is dry. This one is like bone dry. Acidity.
I'm gonna say medium, maybe medium plus, but probably medium.
I want to call it a medium myself. Medium. Tannin.
It's got some grip.
Yeah, it's got some grip, right?
Say medium plus, medium. I'm gonna go medium.
Yeah, I'm gonna call this a medium as well. Maybe like higher than medium if I'm gonna go there. But yeah, it's definitely got some grip. It's not just a pound juice here. It's definitely got some structural element. It's got some textural thing from the tannin. And also, how about like the nature of the tannin? Is it like this kind of like rip your gum out, really chewy, tough green tannin, or is it kind of like fine, really like chalk dusty kind of a thing? How does the tannin feel like to you?
More chalky, I guess.
Agreed. Very fine grain, really integrated. It's a lot. Like there's kind of coats my entire mouth, but it's not like chewy, dense, like green tannin, which is kind of what Dennis was talking about in the vintage report. That it helped with all that little bit of rain in July helped with developing the fine tannin. Alcohol. So I guess the percentage.
I'm gonna say for alcohol,
You can look at your screen.
medium high. I know, but
Medium,
I
okay.
can't read. I don't have my
I'm gonna
glasses.
say like.
What do you think the percentage would be?
Oh, percentage? I'm gonna say 12.5.
Yeah, to me, it seems like 13, 12.5, somewhere around there. Yeah, 13%, which is exactly what you'd expect from Gamay, from this part of the country or the world. Absolutely. So that's right in the medium. Body.
Ooh, this is a hard one. Body.
For milk.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, maybe 2%. Like,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah, I'll call it a medium myself. Yeah, so 2%, that'd be right in the medium. Most we don't have to talk about. Flavor intensity.
Medium plus, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it's like I don't get as much intensity as I did on the nose. To me, that this is like super expressive, more expressive on the nose than it was on the palate. But still, even now, I wouldn't call this light in any way. Just maybe higher in the medium, lower in the medium. Plus is kind of where I am with the palate of this thing. But being generous, I'm gonna call this a medium plus myself as well. What do you taste? Do you agree with everything that Ms. Dahan called out? Is there anything else that speaks out at you?
No, I thought she was right on.
Yeah, agreed. I think in terms of the fruit quality, fruit profile, I think she was dead on. I think there's some of that floral, rose, violet kind of a thing going on here. Red fruit, black fruit, I get both of those things. I think that red currant, kind of red cherry, I think is a good call. Black cherry I get. Really fresh, really ripe, nothing like artificial, nothing carbonic, nothing poppy, nothing high toned. I don't get much of the herbaceous green or anything. Again, for some reason, I don't know why my mind goes to that little bit of pepper, little bit of spice, little bit of licorice kind of a thing. But I get some of that. And then here is where I wanted to kind of draw everybody's attention. We're gonna assume again, this is limestone, and I may because to me it does feel like limestone. So you've heard me talk about this over and over again, that limestone has a certain tension in the wine. And to me, out of all three wines that we've had, maybe with an exception of with the granite, the Domaine Cognac from that was going on Gamay that we tasted from our Pinot last week. That had like a similar thing, but it's not as laser sharp as this. When the grapes are grown on limestone, to me, it has this really rigid, just kind of like backbone, like really austere backbone. And to me, this wine displays a lot of that. I don't know if what I'm describing makes sense to you guys. If you can kind of remember back on what Volcanique tasted like, you can remember back on what Domaine Cognac tasted like. Compared to that, to me, this has much more rigidity. Like just seems so much firmer, more tension, very linear in its expression. Fruit is all there, but with the tannin and the acid, there's just kind of like a tightness about the wine. Again, I know that's not exactly, it's a hard thing for you to express unless you've tasted wines on limestone over and over and over again, just kind of see the patterns of it. But I just wanted to get you guys to start thinking about it. Like if you can somehow remember what the last 2 weeks wines felt like, less so of the flavor, but what it felt like in terms of mouthfeel. Like to me, this has that limestone tension on it. Usually with the limestone, obviously also this is true with just granite or anytime there's a mineral rich soil, you get a lot more of that tannin and the backbone, grip backbone, which this one has obviously. But on top of that, they're just like really, really straight kind of a thing. So that's as best as I can explain like a limestone minerality in terms of mouthfeel. So yeah, just wanted to point that out. But there's definitely some, not necessarily like rockiness in terms of like flavor or aromas, but to me, it has that vibe, that limestone vibe. If you ever, I think this exists on YouTube. If you guys remember Raja Par, one of my professional heroes and idols that we also had as a guest speaker here, he has these blind tasting sessions that he does with different sommeliers, and then one of the questions that he asks is like, is that a limestone minerality? Is that a limestone tension, or is that a granite minerality tension? And what he's talking about that is the shape, the mouthfeel. And then I've never heard it, like it wasn't that all that didn't really make sense to me until I started hearing him talk about it that way, really thinking it through more of the shape, more of the mouthfeel rather than the flavor. Because yeah, I had a huge hard time, difficulty like figuring out, is this limestone or something different? But to me, particularly limestone has this very, very distinct kind of mouthfeel. So hopefully this will be the beginning to kind of try to remember, make a sensory memory of what this mouthfeel feels like. And then next time you guys taste a wine from that was growing on limestone, see if you can get the similar vibe. So yeah. Yeah, like even the acidity, like it doesn't seem right. We called it medium, right? But to me, acidity in this wine is much more pronounced. Not necessarily high in level, but like kind of if you're looking at different components and how it fits into harmony of the whole wine, like to me, the acidity, that backbone, the acidic backbone, the rigidity of it just sticks out so much more than the last 2 weeks wine. So, anyways, if that makes sense to you, hopefully that's helpful. But if not, then yeah, maybe this is where you start. All right, finish. How long is the length?
Medium.
Yeah, I'm gonna call this one medium. Yeah, length is not super long. It's not short, but yeah, medium.
It's there.
Yeah, it's there. Let's bring it on, Norris. How good is this wine? Justify it. Would you age it?
It's a good wine. I'd say it's everything was medium, medium plus on some areas, but I'd say it's good. I would rate it's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that call because it's balanced, right? We call medium plus on the nose, concentration-wise, medium plus on the nose, and medium plus on the palate. So medium plus concentration. But complexity, right? We are hitting some flowers, middle red, little black, really not much else, right? So call that medium, maybe lower in the medium. And then the length we call medium. So we're calling 2 mediums and like 1 medium plus. So across, I say this is closer to good than is very good. So I'm gonna call this good as well. Now, would you age this?
I would. It has structure, complexity. I would like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's meant to be for age for a long time, and rarely Saint-Pourcain is. And yeah, given that it has an acid backbone, that rigidity that I'm telling you about limestone, it is medium. It's not super high, but it also has tannin. There's a good amount of tannin, which is what you need for aged wine to age. But yeah, medium tannin, medium acid, decent, has a concentration. So as some of these things, this really fresh, this is a very primary fruit-driven wine. As some of these things change, maybe it will add a little more complexity, right? Complexity is one of the things that we call medium. So maybe we can, push the needle from medium to medium plus on the complexity. Yeah, so I think the aging is appropriate here, while it's not meant to be aged for a very long time. And I completely agree with your time frame. I'd say 3 to 5 years on this thing. Drink it now. I think it's drinking just fine right now, but maybe drink it over the next 3 to 5 and check back in on it. And I'm going to bet by year 5 you'll probably pick up some tertiary notes. Start to pick up some tertiary notes on this thing as well. Excellent, excellent, good job. Any questions about any of the things that I just went over? Any disagreements on the calls or nothing?
Yeah, I got a little spice in the palate.
Yeah,
and the tannin sticks with it long after the flavor's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the tannin on this thing is quite a bit. And the fact that this is destemmed as well, it doesn't have any of the stem inclusion, yet this has this much tannin. Again, this is what happens when it's grown on like a lime-rich, like mineral-rich soil. So yeah, again, this is all in line with kind of things that I see that are grown on limestone soil, which is that it's usually elevated in tannin, elevated in a lot of structural components, these kind of rigidity, backbone, acid, things like that. And that spice thing, yeah, like that's why I kept going back to that maybe touch or two of like, you know, turnip, pepper. There's something there. Maybe I call it licorice, or there's something there. I just wasn't I had a hard time like articulating exactly what it was be, but yeah, I do think there's something a little bit savory here as well. It's like something a little peppery or something. Anything else?
Yeah, I thought this one was like pretty interesting. I think it really kind of rode the line between like black fruit and red fruit. It was like one of those wines you couldn't really call it. It was just like
Yeah,
wine. And I like that you kind of mentioned it's called austere. And I got this guy in Hinesville this week for $5. I was like, oh yeah. There's
nice.
a lot of wines in here called austere. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I kind of get it now from having this one. So
there you go.
I think this would be like really awesome and like 5 years from now, it's gonna be like really interesting wine.
Yeah, I do think
there's a lot of good components that could kind of come together.
Yeah, exactly. I do think this could benefit from aging. Again, not meant to be aged for a long time, but I do think with a few years on here, I think it's going to get more complex, more things are going to come out. But yeah, that word, I use austere quite a bit with the limestone grown wines, particularly when it comes to white wines as well. But yeah, it's not this like, you know, volcanic soil has that deep, black, brooding kind of power behind it, right? Granite has an abundance of black fruit. Red fruit, poppy, bright, and these things pop out. But here, it's like everything's kind of pulled back. It's much more like demure. It's a lot more, you know, locked in as opposed to like opulence.
Right.
Yeah.
So I saw that I encountered that word just this week as like austere. What does that mean? But yeah, I get it. I kind of understand. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. Did you guys like this one? I see Allison so.
I'm getting over like a sinus infection last week, so my taste buds might be messed up or something, but to me it's like just a little bit like sour.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that I don't love. Like I don't think it's bad. I just don't like it like I loved the first week.
Yeah.
And this one just doesn't quite do it for me in the same way.
Yeah, like I would say the first week the acid was there, is maybe a touch a little bit higher than this one. But also there was so much more fruit, right? Like there's so much more bright red fruit.
Yeah.
And really abundance of it. But going back to that word austere here, like it has that acid here, but all that fruit nature is kind of pulled back and like it's in the background, much more what is that word? Demure and what is that word?
Demure and mindful.
Yeah, it's very demure and mindful, this wine, you know? And that's like, to me, that's a limestone vibe. It's a demure and mindful.
Did anybody do this with food? Because I didn't. So I'm just curious, like, if there was a difference with you said charcuterie was a pairing?
Yeah, to me, like, this is
Did
like
anybody do that? I'm just curious.
me-
I wonder if the fat would help with some of that long-lasting tannin.
Exactly. Something protein rich, something fat rich, like all that would be great with this wine, with that tannin that's going on. Did anybody pair this wine with anything? Did you guys eat it with anything? Or drink it with anything? Okay. Cheese even. All right. Let's play everyone's favorite game. How much do you think this wine is on a retail shelf? How much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf? We called it good, Saint-Pourcain. I mean, like a lot of wines this month is kind of like a satellite region, right? But well made. See, 16, 25-15, 2025, 25-18, 2021. But I mean, we're kind of in there. This wine on a retail shelf would be $22.50. So yeah, you guys are kind of in that ballpark. Exactly what it'd be. And Saint-Pourcain is never that expensive anyway, but you know, for a low $20s wine for this level of quality, I think it's good. I think it's reasonably priced. I'd be happy paying $22.50 for this wine. I'd be happy with that. So, any questions? Are you guys seeing some of these kind of like difference between volcanic, Gamay, and limestone? Like, is that clear, coming through, somewhat clear to you guys, or is it still like, I don't know? They all taste like Gamay to me. They all taste like wine to me.
I think so. I love this month, and I think it's a great theme. It's very cool. I was looking forward to this night. It's very educational.
All right, nerd, love it.
Yeah, I definitely like on mouthfeel. This is so different than the last two. I think this is my least. I like this, but it's my least favorite of the three so far. I really liked the first one. I think, same camp with Allison. And last week was, I can't remember that one as well, but also was like sick with the daycare bug. So, it's interesting. How the things all things taste the same though, cannot tell. Not throwing her under the bus, but like,
Thank you, man. Thank you.
And to some of you, I mean, this goes right in line with why Gamay got kicked out of Burgundy, right? Like these nobility in Burgundy said, Gamay doesn't do very well in limestone, so get the fuck out of Burgundy, and they kicked it down to Beaujolais. And turns out Beaujolais is full of granite, and it completely changed. And you guys all really seem to like Gamay that was grown on granite, Gamay that was grown on volcanic, and that's exactly what Beaujolais is. It's a volcanic and granite. So now you know why you rarely find Gamay grown on limestone, because it gets very what was the word again? Demure and what? Mindful and demure. It's just like you want more of it to pop out, but it's just like too shy. Like it hides back, right?
Yeah. Good subtle pitch for Bojbox Un.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think it's a challenge to pick up on the subtle differences when we taste them so far apart.
Yeah, if we had it like side by side at once,
and do like a blind tasting or something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, with our format, that's definitely one thing. I don't know. Should we do all 4 bottles in one night? And if we were to do like these kind of horizontal tasting, like would that be helpful?
Sounds like a plan.
That'd be an interesting Thursday.
Yeah. We've done a double feature, but we've never done a quadruple feature.
I think when you do your wine prom, you'll have to have all 4 there so we can.
There you go.
There you go.
Would this have tasted different if he had done it with a carbonic maceration, though?
Absolutely. Oh, so that's another thing, right? And thank you for bringing that up, Phil. That's an excellent point. So the first 2 wines, the first 2 weeks, were also done in carbonic, right? Both semi-carbonic. There's some carbonic on there. There's a little pop. Here, there's none of that, right? This is all pure maceration. This is a Burgundian method. So the fruit nature is very different, right? Like we've talked about some of that high tone, some of that bright poppiness, but there's none of that. We're talking about fresh, ripe here. So absolutely, Phil, if this were to have gone through carbonic, the fruit nature would be definitely different. A lot of kind of the high tone we're talking about in the first 2 weeks, it would be present, for sure. Oh, look at you guys learning. Love it.
Also, though, like just thinking about it, if this dude is like the only guy working the whole farm to pluck all those berries,
harvest he uses helper, but
I'm sure he does. But I mean harvest, to say like,
but he's out there pruning, doing all of that himself. Yeah.
But I mean, if you're gonna spend all that time to not have any interference of the stems and shit, like which one would you probably do? You probably would do the fancier version, right? Like you wouldn't do the carbonic because the carbonic sort of masks all the other stuff. Am I correct or
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, carbonic definitely. I mean, that's the kind of the argument against carbonic. That a lot of people say that it kind of erases the terroir. That by putting it under carbonic, it just kind of tastes the same, right? Like if you ever get a Syrah, carbonic Syrah or carbonic Grenache from Rhone, and then you drink that against Beaujolais, poppy, Beaujolais carbonic Gamay, it's not that different, you know? Sure, fruit profile may be a little bit different, but at the end of the day, if you were to blind something and then really trying to get to a place in the world, trying to zero in on a map, point on a map, carbonic is a really hard thing to do that with. Oftentimes you just know carbonic is oftentimes used in Beaujolais. So like if you were to get a carbonic smelling, carbonic tasting wine on an exam setting, most likely it's because they're featuring Beaujolais. Like they wouldn't necessarily do carbonic, I don't know, Mesfilero from Greece. Like that would be fucked up. And they'd be like, where's this from? But like, fuck you. Like that is me. Because a lot of people would be like, oh, this is Beaujolais, but it's not. Yeah. Any other questions? Is besides Joe, because we've heard that Joe loves this theme. Is anybody else enjoying finding value in this kind of like horizontal tasting? Is this too geeky? Is this fun? Is this okay?
We're all advanced now, You've got all the
Okay, we got 301 in the club.
We're dorky.
Yeah.
I think I maybe like them more than like the regional ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to keep it getting weirder and weirder. Like
Yeah.
the nerd creep is real. The old
The
stuff
nerd
just
creep is real.
doesn't do it for us anymore.
Okay.
All right. That initial high.
I love nerd creep. Nerd creep is like my new term, I think. Thank you.
Welcome. Just came up with that on the spot.
I appreciate you.
Ooh.
You should Doge. I bet you could figure something out for. Sorry, too soon.
Wait, what?
Just Doge will come up coming up with new words for things. Like we've got our just the tech help.
Nerd creep box. That's a good month.
Nice. Okay. I mean, duly noted. I wasn't sure, if this is going to be. Yeah, I didn't know how it was going to be received. Let's put it that way.
I can't remember. Did you end up doing a box of Pinots from across the world, or did I just do that on my own?
No.
Okay, so that would be a cool one because you had in Case Club offered like 3 different Pinots from across the world, and I bought 2 of each.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think I drank one and one, but then I had an event where I drank all 3 at once. It was super fun. I think that could be.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This was kind of like similar attempt, but obviously this is mostly in France because Gamay is grown a lot in France in that region. But yeah, Pinot can be grown a lot. I thought about doing it with Grenache. Grenache is also grown in very different places. And I wouldn't want to do it just to I don't know, say this is from this place, similar thing, where I would want to get a little bit nerdy. It'd be like, this is a different soil type. This is a different elevation sites. This is a different climate pattern. Yeah, so there's that. But for this, I thought particularly keeping it all within Loire, Beaujolais, this area, because it's somewhat similar climate. Obviously, one from Clisson, one from the Muscadet region is obviously a little more maritime influenced, less hot, less cold. But in general, they're all kind of coming from a similar climate. So that's another variable that we could take out, right? So it's all kind of grown in similar climate, but just really I try to make it just only about the soil. But you know, obviously there's some carbonic versus non-carbonic. So it's always a struggle to keep, you know, try to get rid of as many barriers as possible, but it's not always possible because
I recommend a Riesling vertical next. We just go, you know, east to west on the Mosel River. Just,
I mean, we did, we kind of did that last time, but it was also about the sugar. Yeah, so that was last time we did something like as geeky as this one was the Riesling box when we did the Mosel box and then did different sugar levels, right? We did from completely bone dry all the way up to spot essay.
I want to do the elevation. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, elevation is a cool one. Yeah, I've thought about that. And I don't know how this is going to be received. I may piss off some people, but I was thinking about putting together a Chardonnay box just to piss off some people.
I would do it for you, Un, but it doesn't make you feel excited though.
I would say that's the
actually, you know what? No, that's not true because what did we have? Was it Cruise Chardonnay like really early on? And that like blew my mind. Didn't even bought bottles of it.
Yeah, in my opinion, if there's one grape variety that is like a chameleon of a grape variety, it's Chardonnay. Like that grape variety can pull up so many different things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what I want to show.
All right.
You know, I may or may not. I probably won't. Probably put any like oaked ripe Chardonnay.
Thank God.
But because you can find it everywhere, right? Anywhere. But try to showcase Chardonnay done in different styles and how versatile it really is. So like, you know, you can use box like that, and then when you come out to your, you know, auntie or mom or grandma was like, I only drink Chardonnay, or people are like, I don't drink Chardonnay, I hate Chardonnay. Well, here's some Chardonnays that you should try. So.
In the apropos of nothings, did you see that McBride sisters are at TJ's for $3.99?
Really?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, I was like, I remember when I drank them, like,
wow.
That's fine because I picked them up at like Costco. Like, yeah, they're at Costco for it's like 11 or something.
Wow.
I don't know.
Insane.
That's wild. I mean, 11, that makes sense. I think they can get down to 11. They're at the size, but $3.99? That's crazy.
Crazy.
I don't like TJ's must be offsetting the cost. I can't understand it. I mean, I don't know, but like
that must have been a mistake. We've gotten McBride sisters at Trader Joe's for like 20 for a long time.
I just saw it. But okay, I'll send a picture around.
Oh, maybe now. Are they still open?
Maybe, yeah. No, I'm not where I am. But it's just it's a I don't know. Maybe it's like a Black History Month thing. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe they were able to negotiate some. I mean, look, there's all sorts of ways.
It is February,
activism,
yeah.
You know, subtle activism, which I'm like, I'm down for that. Black girl magic. Let's go.
Yeah. And it's honestly, yeah, it's conventional, but it's delicious wine. It's well made. I like their wines.
All I mean is that we know them. We met them.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, we didn't meet them. They didn't come on. They wanted a big fee, right? If I
right.
Exactly.
Well, fine. We drank it and we tried to meet them.
Man, your memory, Phil. I'm impressed. Yeah, they wanted some like ridiculous fee. I was like, really? Come on. All right. Well, cool. Well, next week, just so you guys know, the final one in this box is complete out of left field. So we're leaving France altogether. We're going to California. We're going to Sonoma Coast, grown on marine soil, complete different climate. So maybe this is kind of an outlier, but it's wild. So yeah, just gonna showcase what happens when, you know, same grape is grown in a completely different place, different soil type, different climate, and then what happens. But yeah, that wine blew my mind. So what we're gonna end up with next month, or ended up finish the box with next month or next week. Hold on, I'm gonna stop the recording. I realize I've been